At Frank Caliendo on Twitter, and he is a national treasure. Swagoo, any thoughts?
My thoughts, G, is every time Bill Walton is on a broadcast, I tune in and don't know anything about what's happening in the game because I'm listening to Bill Walton.
Yes.
Frank Caliendo is a jewel, bro.
Yes.
We got to get him to do me, G.
Yeah. You don't know any more about the game after listening to him either, but I mean that in only the best conceivable way. All right, let us do Swagoo Says. Roll the open. What does Swagoo say?
G, you know what I say? I say Daniel Jones is a gangster. He lying, G. Look at me today, G. I'm already a beast, so we just gonna be beastie. I call you bro.
Yes.
You are my bro. Are you crying, son?
This is not exactly how I meant for this to go.
Take that and smoke it.
All right, it makes me feel good to see that open. I hope everyone else likes it as well. But I want to start with I think, a pretty interesting and serious one. Stephen A. Smith yesterday had very interesting comments on Cam Newton and his departure from Carolina. Here's what he said.
Carolina Panthers screwed over Cam Newton in terms of the timing in which they let him go. If you had let him go, you make this decision, you let him go weeks ago, then there would have been a plethora of teams available for him. But the fact that they waited this long to release him, they screwed him over. Nobody's mentioning that, so I will.
So Stephen A. mentioned it. That's what he said. Swagoo, what do you say?
100% agree. Bottom line is, when Tepper got on and said we have to see Cam Newton's health and then we'll make a decision, was basically saying when Cam Newton's healthy, we're going to cut him and release him. Because in order for everybody out there to release a player, you have to medically clear him first or you deal with some ramifications. So Stephen A. is right. Cam got screwed. Carolina screwed him, and the new ownership was like, yo, soon as he healthy, we kicking him out the door.
This is a really interesting conversation. We're going to do it a little later this morning when Louis Riddick joins us as well, because there's a lot to be said about it, and we will. Meanwhile, let's continue. Swagoo Says. Tampa Bay wide receiver Chris Godwin has a new quarterback in Tom Brady. Yesterday, however, Godwin, was asked about his former quarterback, Jameis Winston, on First Take. Here's what he said.
There's no doubt in my mind that he's a starter in this league. I think James is one of the more dynamic quarterbacks that we have. I think arm talent wise, he's up there with with the best of them. He's made some throws where I was like just wowed by it. But obviously, like turnovers, they are what they are, and I think, like I said, it's not all on his fault. Honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing him with the Chargers.
That is what Godwin said. What does Swagoo say?
Much respect for Godwin for saying, first of all, that it wasn't all Jameis's fault. That's respect. The second thing is, man, I love Jameis. Jameis is a great quarterback to me in my eyes. He got to cut down on the turnovers. But we got Tom Brady, dog. We don't need Jameis. And look, that's my friend, that's my boy. But if you can get Tom Brady to come play quarterback for you, then Jameis got to go.
I tell you what, I'm still going to die on the Jameis Winston hill. I am not anywhere near done standing up for Jameis Winston on this program, as alone as I sometimes feel. All right, finally, so I'm just going to serve you this one up on a silver platter. Earlier this week, I had Terry Bradshaw live on here, and he made the following observation. Terry Bradshaw, it was a delight for me to see you in Miami last week with your wife. I hope that you're safe. Yeah.
We are safe, and please tell your wife hello. I really, looking at you and then looking at her, I would have never put the two together because she's a good-looking gal. She's and you're a lot bigger than I thought. I mean, you look like a little guy on there with all those folks on your set with you, but you're a powerful man, so it was a pleasure seeing you.
Well, it was a delight to see you as well. I'm never going to possibly live past the two things you just said, but outside of that, it was delightful. I said that because I knew what was coming. Go ahead. That's what he said. What does Swagoo say?
First of all, G, let me break this down for you.
Yeah.
The fact that Terry Bradshaw said Stace, your wife, is you well overshot, you outkick your coverage. The bottom line is Terry Bradshaw basically said you don't pull a pretty lady like that if you didn't play quarterback in the NFL. That's number one. Number two, when he talked about your stature, what he was basically saying was he thought you were a very small guy. So in order to pull, and pull means to bring in a beautiful lady like your wife, you got to be big. You got to be tall. You got to be handsome. Obviously, he could see that you're handsome on TV, but now he saw your stature. But just sitting next to me, G, it makes you look like a Smurf.
That was kinder than I was expecting. Dominique, do you have any reaction?
I'm here to be kind also. I think you're very handsome, man. I'm not surprised. I think Stacey's beautiful. Obviously, Terry better watch out. But Terry's my guy. You know, the original TB12, Terry Bradshaw, is one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time. Former MVP, multiple times. I love that guy. His hair is phenomenal. I might, after the quarantine is over, I might cut me a little loop in there so I can pull a Terry Bradshaw myself and dye it blonde, man. TB12.
All right.
Stop, Nick.
It's an inside joke, but it never will
Nick.
stop being funny to me. Okay, let's do one more serious piece of sound here if we can. Yesterday on a conference call, Tampa Bay head coach Bruce Arians addressed the idea that Tom Brady can't throw the ball deep anymore. Here's what he said.
I think the perception's just wrong. I thought his deep ball was outstanding last year. Through their play action game, they hit a lot of deep balls. And our quarterback, I thought he put it as good as anybody. He throws the guy that's open. You know, we do have reads that start deep and come to short. I've had a couple of quarterbacks that, well, they just keep looking deep. They won't throw the check down. Tom Moore has the best saying in the world: you never go broke putting money in the bank, take the damn check down. We don't have to teach Tom that. But I think the freedom of looking downfield on certain routes and certain situations, when the matchup's perfect, take it. Don't be afraid to take it. Some quarterbacks are afraid to take it. I'm not looking for a check down Charlie type quarterback.
He said a lot of things there, Swagoo. What did you take out of it?
Well, the one thing I took out of it is the fact that he feels like Tom Brady has the arm strength to operate. But he doesn't have the arm strength to operate over 17 weeks now like Bruce Arians wants to push the ball down the field. The number two thing is Tom Brady is going to have his imprint over this offense. Like, believe it. Byron Leftwich, the offensive coordinator for the Bucs, Bruce Arians, the head coach, and Tom Brady going to sit in the room, and they're going to ask Tom Brady, what do you want to do? And Tom Brady's going to give them a significant plan, and they're going to implement some of the things that they want to do. But basically what Bruce Arians was saying, too, is that, Jameis, take some check downs for us every once in a while, or wherever your next team is, and just take what you can get. Put money in the bank. Tom Moore, I'm sick of hearing Bruce Arians say that. Tom Brady's arm strength is plenty fine. Number two to that, Tom Brady is one of the best decision makers in football based on his low interception rate. So they'll be fine in Tampa with taking care of the football and being able to push it downfield.
Yeah, I know the thought was supposed to be, Neek, about Brady, but I took more out of that about his comments really about Jameis. He was basically saying Jameis Winston was throwing the ball down the field no matter what, and every now and again, even for a guy who we perceive to be like Arians, who wants to fling it all over the place, that putting money in the bank, as we say, you never go broke.
Yeah, I think that was a bit of a shot at Jameis, or him still talking to Jameis. But it's not just Jameis. Back with Ben Roethlisberger, he's kind of a guy who does that also, who wants to hang out and throw downfield more often than he wants to take the check down. And sometimes it ends up in sacks and turnovers, but it's worked out better for his career. But I do think the things about Brady's arm strength are a bit overplayed. He doesn't throw down the field much. The numbers don't suggest, but when he does, I think he was third in the league for completion percentages for passes of more than 20 yards downfield when the receivers are open. So I think that Tom Brady is capable of performing in an offense, but the thing that Swagoo brought up is it's a long season. That's the question. I think obviously through the course of one game or a couple of throws, Brady is going to hit some big plays here or there, but will he still be able to do it at the end of the season through the playoffs, depending on where they play in the weather? We'll see what happens there. I know that he's had success when he was younger doing that, and I guess you could go back to just 2 years ago. That wasn't that long ago, but when you get old, as all of us are getting older, things just they kind of fall off the cliff a little faster. So we'll see. I'm not suggesting that Brady's going to fall off the cliff, but doing it throughout the course of an entire season is different than being able to do it in small spaces or in short periods of time.
Which makes me think, Swagoo, this was not planned, but as Neek was talking, this is what it made me think of. As we see more and more of these quarterbacks playing at these advanced ages, and obviously Brady and Breeze are now the outliers, but there are more guys coming along who may be around a while. Will we ever see a point where we load manage quarterbacks in the NFL, especially if they go to a 17th regular season game? Will we see a situation where a Taysom Hill actually starts 3 games and that's part of the plan going into the season?
I doubt it. I mean, the games are too valuable. You guys all laughed at me a while ago when I brought this up, when I thought that Tom Brady would be considered or could be good in a role as like a closer in certain situations. So I doubt that ever happens because each game is so valuable, but I don't think it's crazy.
Marcus, real quick.
I don't know why you keep picking these here. I don't know why you keep picking these hills to die on. Get off that one and get off the Jameis hill until they prove to you that it's going to happen.
We'll see. We'll talk more about it in the next hour, Swagoo. I have a feeling I'm going to win you over to my side of the argument because I'm a much bigger man than you ever realized that I was. All right, as we continue.